today, with great pleasure, we welcome Ms. Maria Popova, First Secretary of the Russian Embassy and Director of the Russian House in Colombo.
Good morning, Sri Lanka. I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Good morning to you, and it's, yes, a great pleasure to have you in our presence.
Thank you.
And we warmly welcome you. Team Radio Sri Lanka warmly welcomes you to our studio. And we would like to know your view on Sri Lanka and how has your stay been in Sri Lanka, your time in Sri Lanka?
I must tell you that last week I celebrated a whole year since I came to this paradise island. That's the only way I can call it, either a paradise island or the treasure island. I'm simply in love with Sri Lanka. It is warm, it is beautiful, it is always sunny. Even despite the rain, it is always warm, and I simply love the climate, love the people, the friendliness, the beauty of the island. It keeps me enthralled every day, and every day I find some new surprises, new nice things that make me smile and make me very happy.
Very happy to hear as a Sri Lankan. And Miss Maria, what makes you visit Sri Lanka and the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation today?
Well, actually, I came here with a very exciting project. As a cultural presenter here in Sri Lanka, I'm very excited to introduce a project by one of the leading Russian radio stations called Radio Orfei, who has reached out to me, willing to find new friends here in Sri Lanka, new radio stations, and maybe to launch some kind of a cooperation in terms of exchanging contents, classical music, rubrics on culture, on cuisines, on fashion. We're working on it. We're actually negotiating it right now, and I'm very excited that it's going to be happening very soon, I hope.
Right, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
So, would you like to go back to Russia and feel nostalgic in terms of music, tunes of Russia?
Oh yeah, if you don't mind, my dear Sri Lankan listeners, I would like to share with you the one of the best songs, one of my favorite songs of my favorite performer, whose name is Yuri Antonov. I was a very, very young girl when I first heard that song, and it really makes me feel nostalgic every time I hear his voice, even though he's an old man right now, but his music still makes me so excited and so thrilled. So please welcome Yuri Antonov with his song Under the Rooftop of Your Home.
Мы все спешим за чудесами, но нет чудесней ничего, чем та земля под небесами, где крыша дома твоего, где крыша дома твоего. И если вдруг тебе взгрустнется, то грусть не значит ничего, когда ты знаешь, что под солнцем есть крыша дома твоего, есть крыша дома твоего. Огорчения любые исчезнут все до одного. Лишь вспомнишь звезды голубые над крышей дома своего, над крышей дома своего. Полон радости и счастья, но край родной милей всего. И так прекрасно возвращаться под крышу дома своего, под крышу дома своего.
I can relate to what you were saying because music is a universal language and I too enjoyed the song, Miss
Oh,
Marie.
definitely. Thank you. That was very nice to hear.
And I hope it took you back to your childhood. And
Definitely. That was a real throwback, you know. I live those precious moments again.
Happy to be catering to you as well over there.
Thank you. That was my pleasure, definitely.
And your journey has been quite interesting. Like you said, you have dabbled in many things back in Russia.
That's
and
right.
you've experimented in the industry of media. You, I heard, a news presenter and a news producer back in Russia. If you could speak a few words.
Yes, actually, I did have a creative story. It was a very interesting story. I started out my radio career as a creative producer and the news producer for the only Moscow's English-speaking radio station called Capital FM, and it was in the media holding called Moscow Media, which owns 2 TV channels and 3 cities radio stations. One of them is in English, as I said, and the other one is Moscow FM, which is a #1 Russian-speaking radio station in Moscow, which is also extremely popular. And so I developed from there. I took up from producing news, then I produced some rubrics and TV shows. Then for a few years, I worked as a weather reporter as well. And then I did a lot of news presenting and interviews for the TV channel Moscow 24, which is also part of our big media holding. Every time we had foreign guests, I was actually involved in all the process of interviewing and doing shows with them as well. And before coming to Sri Lanka, I actually got a big raise, and I was leaving as the executive producer of the whole radio department of that holding. So it was quite a big and interesting way. I had the experience of working in a lot of different positions, and it's such an invaluable experience for me now. It helps me so much in my present position, in my present job, in terms of communicating with people, in terms of interviews, in terms of mass media. It was very helpful, and I'm very grateful for those 8 years.
Yes, and the journey has been very fruitful, you could say.
Oh, well, you can see that from your side. I'm glad it is.
That's great to hear, and you've reached milestones in life. So throughout all of this, if you could share an interesting experience that you experienced back in Russia during your time in media.
Well, there were quite a lot of interesting experiences. I even interviewed one of the sculptors, you know, with his big, very fascinating sculpture that actually looked like something that you do in the washroom, but it turned out so extremely popular all over the world. And that statue was actually, it was showcased in the Biennale in Venice, and then it was brought to Moscow and put right in the center of Moscow, right in that historical downtown, and it looked so out of place there, and a lot of people were like arguing, take it away, it doesn't look good, it doesn't fit. And what we did, we actually called that sculptor who invented that sculpture, and we talked to him, and I asked him, like, what was the purpose of that? Did you want to make scandal around it? Did you want to make a lot of fuss? He said, no, I just wanted to create something. And then I figured out that that guy was so innocent. And I felt so sorry for him at once, because so many people were like hating him and posting bad comments, like, you have no taste, what it is, like, it's like, you wanted to create some buzz. That's what the people were thinking about him. But on the other hand, I talked to him. He's just a normal guy who's just a creator. He said, like, this is just one thing that at some point, I just wanted to make with my hands. It just came into my mind, and I just, sculptured that. And if it was okay in Venus, like, why do the Muscovites think it doesn't fit? Well, it's still there, I must tell you. It has been there for like 4 years, I guess, and nobody's taken it away. By the way, if you remind me, I can post you a picture of that.
Oh, yes, we would
I will
love to
send
see
that
it.
later, because I took pictures of it. It's like not very far from where I live in Moscow. That was a funny interview. Yes, we did with him. And then another funny thing was when the elections in America took place, the Joe Biden's elections, as we know. That was like 2 years ago, right? And it was funny because the TV channel Moscow 24 asked me to come and interpret the whole thing, the whole process for the TV. And I was sitting there like for 2 days, for 12 hours straight with earphones on, with all the possible TV channels. Like I said, I had BBC, NBC, Fox News, and I was supposed to listen to all those channels and make presentations and interpret them in Russian wherever I was on air. So it was quite difficult and it was quite nervous. And then I was asked to come for the inauguration of Joe Biden. And it was funny because I worked until midnight that day. So I was actually on air. I was translating for the Russian people. I was translating his speech, his oath when he was swearing on the oath as an American president, like I, Joe Biden, la 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 la, like swear to protect the American people and stuff. So I was actually, it was my voiceover and I didn't hear myself, but my husband was watching. So next morning when I woke up, I was getting ready for work and I turned on the TV and I saw that they were actually playing it over. And it's like, I'm seeing the Joe Biden and he's speaking with my voice. That was so funny.
That would have felt surreal as a viewer.
Yes, because it's the one thing when you're actually doing it as your job on air, you don't really care. But it's a totally different thing when you hear yourself from this side, and it's so funny. Like I just turn on the TV, have my morning coffee, and I just see Joe Biden swearing with my voice.
Oh goodness! And you must have got to come across many different people from across the world, the encounters and the experiences and the stories you must have heard from them.
Of course, most of it happened, of course, before the coronavirus, because during the coronavirus, we mostly all worked from homes and we didn't have that many guests coming in. It was a real challenge, actually, to get somebody come because people were afraid to move around, to come, to communicate. And but before that, yes, we had a lot of people coming. We used to have a lot of musicians coming from all over the world, from the US, from England, and we used to interview them. We even had Steven Seagal come once. We had what's the name of that band? Okay Go. We had several. Then we had Marchibo coming in for an interview, and they did a concert in Moscow. They invited all of our crew to that event. So we had quite a lot. And, of course, a lot of Russian movie stars, film actors, producers. They also came for interviews. So I get a lot. If you take a look at my Facebook of those years, it's like every day I pose with somebody new. And, I have a lot of photographs of different celebrities in my collection.
I'm sure you must. So have there ever been moments where you have been starstruck and fangirled over celebrities?
Maybe in the first few weeks when I just came, and I was also excited because before that I was on a maternity leave for 3 years, so you can imagine how willing I was, to express myself, to meet new people. So it was really very, very exciting, and you can see like people who usually see on TV, but they come to you and they say hi, and you open the door for them, you interview them. So at first it felt like surreal and very exciting, but then you just get used to it as a job, as a work, and it doesn't excite you. Say, oh, hi. There he is. I saw him on TV. Like, okay, hi. It's just normal because it's just part of your job, and
and you get used to.
You get used to everything. It's the human being. I mean, it's everything about a human being. You get used to anything in your life when it comes and happens every day. You just get used to it, and it's not good. It's not bad. It's just a thing about life, I think.
So, what sparked something within you to start presenting and to pursue this industry and field of work?
You mean the radio?
Yes.
Well, actually, I was very excited about it because I heard that there was just a newly established English-speaking radio station in Moscow. It was the only one in that time, and it was 2010. In 2011, I became a mother, and then I started listening to that radio station, and it got me hooked because it was something interesting. It was a whole new, different concept and a new concept in the Russian radio system, and just when my kid turned 3, I realized that I wanted to go maybe to get a part-time job, and I just sent in my resume as a person who speaks English, and I was thinking that maybe I could be helpful in terms of doing rubrics or news, and they just called me and hired me, and that's just how it went. I mean, I've always been a creative person. I'm a writer myself. I like to write, I like to sing, I like to I like everything that has something to do with the music. And my name, Popova, by the way, like it was destiny because do you know who invented the radio, by the way? His name was Alexander Popov.
Oh.
And as I always say, yes, he was my relative. He was not my relative, of course. But it always helped me in the radio, to say that you know who invented the radio.
Oh.
So I have the same name, Popova. It's just a very, very common Russian last name.
Oh, right.
But I think it was destiny in these terms, if you believe in things like that, if you believe in signs like that.
So it's almost like you were born for it, but a creator at heart.
I can't say that I was actually born for it, but at that period of my life, at that period of time when I was a young mom, I think it was the thing that I needed, maybe to learn something new. I mean, everything that comes your way, it's a lesson, an experience for you. And if you're smart enough, you always gain something from it. You always take something positive into your life that you can use further. So in that certain period of time, I think it was very exciting, very, dynamic, very interesting. But as time passed, I realized that I've outgrown and I wanted to do something different. And since I come from a diplomatic family, my father was a diplomat, my husband was a diplomat, and we used to work in California, in San Francisco with him, that part was actually calling to me all the time.
Right.
And it was very attractive for me because I realized that I was growing up, I was growing more mature maybe, and I do have a special education. I am the graduate of the Moscow State Institute of Foreign Relations, the MGIMO, which actually prepares diplomats, just as my husband is. So at some point I realized that I wanted to go back. I wanted to work abroad. I wanted to present the Russian culture maybe, and that's how I came to the Russian cultural diplomacy, actually. I work for Россотрудничество. It is not exactly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but it's a daughter organization, and it deals with culture, education, everything I love. So technically, I have a dream job now.
Right, and you feel like your heart is here.
Definitely. I belong here. I'm very happy here. And what I do here every day makes me extremely happy and fulfilled. And by the way, I'm very happy to share with you that the Russian state, the Russian government annually offers free scholarships for studying in the Russian higher educational organizations for Sri Lankan people. And over the past few years, we have been ordering 40 scholarships, but this time it has been raised to 50 because it's extremely popular. And what I also noticed during this year of my stay, that a lot of prominent Sri Lankas who are very successful in different spheres have actually studied in Russia or in the Soviet Union, and that education gave them a lot of chances to improve their life and reach a higher level in their life. So what I'm always saying to Sri Lankan young people, don't miss your chance. All the details are at the Russian House in Colombo. Please register at the website educationinrussia.com, and please don't miss your chance to change your life for the better and to go and study for free and to get one of the top quality educations in the world.
Thank you so much for your services, and it is our privilege to have had you on air, Miss Maria.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, and you have reached great heights, so I'm sure you take pride in it.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful time, and stay tuned for more.
Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your stay here, Miss Maria. And that was Miss Maria Popova, the first secretary to the Russian Embassy, and also the director of the Russian House in Colombo, gracing our studio today. Good day to you, Miss Maria.
Thank you.